Hello, scholars, and welcome to another exciting passage review. This time we'll be talking about sprawl threatens wildlife and habitat. Okay, you should have already taken the quiz and answered the questions and know how you did. And now we're going to review the questions to talk about why the correct answers are correct. And I'll do my best to explain the thinking of the state. Question number one. Where does the central idea first emerge in the text? Okay, I don't like this question very much because there are lots of central ideas in the text, but let's go ahead and define this central idea. And you should have written text specific important idea. Now, just like we've seen on other passages, in this kind of question, we want to focus on what does what applies to the text as a whole. So somewhere off to the side here, write as a whole. The whole text is what we're after. Okay. All right. So the correct answer is A. And that quote says, sprawl was found to be the leading cause of species imperilment. Now we can get that from a number of places, but look here at the title. Sprawl threatens wildlife and habitat. Okay, so that is what it is about from the very first title, and we see that reflected throughout the entire text. So as a whole, the title gives it away. It's going to be our best quote. Now, what we'll see in the other ones is that they are all too specific. And when you have this kind of question, that's how it's going to be. One correct answer that deals with the text as a whole, and then everything else too specific. The rate of sprawl in the United States almost quadrupled between 1954 and 1997. Is the whole text about the rate of the sprawl? No. And that doesn't mention the wildlife at all. Currently, the rate of land consumption outpaces population growth. Again, it's not about how much land is being consumed, and it doesn't mention wildlife at all. Habitat loss in the lowlands has severed connections between populations, okay? And that is just too focused on lowlands, all right? So all of these are too specific or don't cover some of the main ideas like the wildlife. This is the one that deals with both sprawl and species imperilment, and it covers the whole text. Okay, that's number 43. Pause and make sure you have all that written down. Moving on to 44. How does the use of the words like danger, threat, and imperilment in paragraph 1 affect the meaning of the text? Okay, remember, always talk about, always start with positive and negative. So these are all negative words, danger, threat, and imperilment. Can we eliminate anything here? Road mortality, that would be negative. Negative effects would be negative by stating a warning. Still negative by implying the possibility. No, so all pretty, so nothing there. Couldn't eliminate on tone. Let's see what we have. The correct answer is C, by stating a warning about the consequences of urbanization on wildlife. Okay, so that's going to be our correct answer. And let's just see, do we have support for that in paragraph 1? I'll go back up here, see what we got. More than 1/3 of the known species in the United States are considered in danger of extinction. The main threat to these species and biodiversity in general is habitat loss and defragmentation. Okay, so looking back here, a warning about the consequences of urbanization on wildlife. So that covers urbanization and it covers wildlife. Okay, answer choice A. Let's see what we got. By illustrating the rate of road mortality in the United States. I don't know that it mentions road mortality anywhere here. Sprawl. It does mention roads here, but it doesn't mention animals getting killed on roads. So we might call that a dangerous assumption trap. We might assume that some animals are getting killed on the road, but it's not mentioned there. So I'm going to say dangerous assumption. It's more about the loss of habitat. Right? By conveying the negative effects of the ecological biodiversity. Look how they're trying to trap you. They are so sneaky. See, all these words are negative, danger, threat, and imperilment, and it says negative effects. And then they use these big fancy words to try to trick you. So ecological would mean that it's out in nature, and biodiversity means that there's lots of different kinds of life. Bio means life, and diversity. So it's a strike, but they're trying to trick you. They're trying to trap you with the word negative, and then use big fancy words to trick you. But this is actually the opposite. This author would definitely consider ecological biodiversity, having lots of different kinds of animals, to be a positive thing. There are no negative effects to ecological biodiversity. We've talked about the correct answer by implying the possibility that a loss of animal species is impossible to control. That's a strike, maybe, but the word impossible, I'm going to put that as an extreme word. But really, the article is about that it is possible to have a positive impact. But a good extreme word trap there. Okay, dangerous assumption, strike, correct answer, and an extreme word. Pause the video and make sure you have all that down. Number 45. How does the description of Sprawl as devouring the land and habitat at an alarming pace in paragraph 3 affect the meaning of the text? Okay. Now, we know that we're looking for something negative from the overall article, but also from the words devouring and alarming. So can we eliminate anything positive? It highlights the means by which urbanization occurs and grows. I think that's going to be a strike. It's a little too positive. Discredits. No. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. Okay. All right, the correct answer is C. It personifies the process of urbanization and emphasizes its negative aspects. Okay. The personification is here in the word devouring. So, as if Sprawl is actually eating something. And then, is it negative? Yes. So, it has negative, it has the personification. Everything in this one checks out. Okay, answer choice A. It detracts from the author's concerns about urbanization. We'll put that also as a strike because it's doing the opposite. It highlights the author's concerns about urbanization. It doesn't detract from them, it emphasizes them. And then here, it discredits the threat of urbanization and dispels the myths associated with it. Still another strike. It's not discrediting the threat of urbanization, it's emphasizing it, it's illustrating it, it's highlighting it. So, another strike there. There's a lot of big words in this one. Overall, you've got 3 strikes in the correct answer, but a lot of tough vocabulary that they're trying to trick you with. All right, that's number 45. Pause the video, make sure you got all that. 46. How do the details in paragraph 4 develop the author's claims about sprawl? Okay, let's take a look at paragraph 4. It says, the rate of development in the United States doubled in the last decade, with some 3 million acres of farmland, forest land, and wildlife habitat now converted annually. An area the size of Connecticut. Currently, the rate of land consumption outpaces population growth. For example, Chicago suburbs experienced a 46% increase in land consumption during the last decade, while only increasing the population by 4%. And once converted, these urbanized landscapes no longer provide the same options for wildlife, thus displacing or eliminating many species, especially those that depend upon large blocks of forest, shrubland, or grassland. Okay, so paragraph 4, and what we're looking for is how do the details in paragraph 4 develop the author's claims about sprawl? Okay, and we know that the author is claiming that sprawl is taking away animal wildlife. Okay, the correct answer is A. It emphasizes the extent of animal habitat that is jeopardized yearly. Okay, definitely does that. It's all right in tone and everything. Okay. B, by indicating how much land can be safely lost to development each year. Safely is a positive word. We know that the author's claims are negative. All right. So we're going to put that as a strike. It's the wrong tone. By suggesting forests and pastures are the primary habitats of endangered species. It does mention forests and pastures, I think, somewhere in here. Let's see, forests, maybe not. It does mention forests, grassland, but that is not in sync. We might call that a words from the passage trap, but forests and pastures are not the primary habitats of endangered species. So we'll call that a words from the passage trap because it does have the word forest in there. By asserting that the effects of development are less serious than experts suggest. Okay, so the less serious is going to make that a strike. He is emphasizing how important the effects are from the experts. Okay, that's 46. Correct, strike, words from the passage trap, and another strike. Pause the video, make sure you get on that one. Number 47. Based on paragraph 5, what can be inferred about the connection between clearing land and wildlife habitat? Okay, this one they do a lot of mixing around to trick you, but the correct answer is D, so let's start with that. Clearing land for urbanization has surpassed the threat of clearing land for agriculture. Now, where is our textual support for that? Paragraph 5, it says, studies show that habitat loss is the leading threat to endangered and extremely rare species. In a study of 1,207 rare U.S. species that suffer from habitat loss, 35% are threatened by commercial development and 38% by agricultural development. Since most agricultural development occurred years ago, commercial development is now the most immediate threat. Okay. So it's saying it used to be agricultural development for farms and stuff was the biggest threat, but now it's commercial development for urbanization. All right, so looking at our answer choices, see how they switch things around. The correct answer is D. Oh no, I'm on the wrong question. Here, the correct answer is D. We talked about that. Let's look at the other answer choices. We do have a class of urbanization surpassed the threat of clearing land for agriculture. It used to be farmland, now it's urbanization. Answer choice A, clearing land for agriculture has been less of a threat in the past. That's a strike. It was more of a threat in the past. Clearing land for agriculture is the greatest threat to wildlife at this time. No, it used to be. That's in the past. Clearing land for urbanization has been the main threat to wildlife in the past. All right, so those are all strikes. It's like they're switching up these ideas of farmland and agriculture and urbanization, and then in the past and in the future to just try to trick you, really. But this is the only one that's correct all the way around. Pause the video on 47, and let's look at 48. The correct answer is not D on 48. Let me see if I've got a little eraser here. I don't think I do. No. Oh, well. It's okay. But it's not D. The correct answer for 48 is B. So let's look here. How do the paragraphs in the section Habitat Loss Concerns refine the author's claim about habitat loss? Okay, so you should have the word refine circled, which means to make better or clearer. To make better or clearer. The correct answer is B, by emphasizing the areas where species are most vulnerable to extinction. Let's find our textual support for that. So if we look at habitat loss concerns, all right, what does it do? It emphasizes lowlands, wetlands, and then agricultural lands. Okay, does that sink out? Does that sound right? Emphasizing the areas, lowlands, wetlands, agricultural lands, where species are most vulnerable. Okay, so that one checks out. Let's look at the other ones. By describing the particular species most affected by urban sprawl. Now, let's see, I don't know that it describes any specific species here. Look through here. Okay, no. So that's just not in there. It's not describing any specific species. I'm going to put that as a strike. Answer choice B, by demonstrating the need for policies that limit development in certain areas. I don't think that's in the text. There's no textual support for that. We would call that a dangerous assumption. The author probably wants there to be policies that would protect certain areas, but we have no textual support. And then finally, by focusing on the history of urban development in certain parts of the United States. That is not in that section. So that is a unrelated truth. It's somewhere else in there. It's true that it does talk about it somewhere in the article, but just not in this section. So our correct answer is B. All right, number 49. How does the author connect the ideas concerning sprawl and threatened wildlife? The correct answer is C. By using research and data to support the central idea of the text. Okay. Do they use research and data? Absolutely. There's all kinds of statistics and references to articles and numbers. So yeah, definitely using research and data. Let's look at the other answer choices. By implying that new studies about development extinction should be conducted. I would say that's a strike. The author is very happy to use existing studies. There's no indication that we need new studies. B, by emphasizing the importance of research studies and when they were published. I'm going to put that as a dangerous assumption. I don't think that that is in the text. We might assume that the author thinks that these research studies were important, but it's not in the text. By suggesting the claims are legitimate but need less emphasis. This is what we would say is a great partial truth. The part that's true is the claims are legitimate, but he thinks they need more emphasis, not less. So that's a perfect partial truth trap. Partial truth. All right, and finally, number 50. How does the author use rhetoric to advance the point of view that urban sprawl is one of the main causes of wildlife extinction in the United States? All right. The correct answer is D. We have this idea of using rhetoric to advance the point of view. Now, rhetoric we would define as sophisticated language tools. So make sure you have that down, sophisticated language tools. Like all of the things that we talk about on the literary terms list, anything from personification to similes and things like that. But also in this case, using facts and statistics and articles. All right, so it says, by highlighting specific studies and explaining the increase in development over time. All of that checks out. He does highlight specific studies. He does explain the increase in development over time. So that's going to be our correct answer. Answer choice A, by discussing species-specific losses and the development projects that led to their demise. Again, there's not a lot of talk about specific species. Just kind of talks about wildlife in general. So we'll put that as a strike. By including studies from activists about the insufficient legislation protecting animal habitats. All right, look at this great partial truth trap. Okay, partial truth. He does include studies from activists, but the studies aren't about the insufficient legislation. Answer choice C, by focusing on how much land is currently being developed for commercial and agricultural use. Again, beautiful partial truth trap. This one's really tricky because it definitely does all of this. It focuses on land currently being developed for commercial use, but the word agriculture is the problem here. So there's not a lot of land currently being developed for agricultural use. So great partial truth trap. So strike, 2 partial truths, and the correct answer. All right, make sure you got all that down, and that should take care of that passage. Hope you enjoyed your time practicing for the EOC.